Welcome to Sports Talk with RKJ. I'm your host, Steve Risser, along with my co-host, Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli. And week 10 is upon us in the NFL. But before that, we're going to get into some of the quarterback injuries in the league right now. And as we heard yesterday, the Panthers have placed Cam Newton on IR for the entire season. So it's going to be Kyle Allen for the rest of the season for the Carolina Panthers. But as we look at Cam Newton's career, very, very interesting career for Cam Newton. He might have taken his last snap as quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. We remember how he had a great rookie year in 2011, kind of inconsistent in the next 3 years. But then remember that 2015 season, his MVP season, which was outstanding. Then again, not good in 2016. 2017, he was better. 2018, he started off really well. Then he got hurt, and then that showed. And injuries have really, really hurt Cam Newton in his career, not reach his full potential. I mean, you saw him in 2015. You thought this was going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league for the next 5 to 10 years. But the way it's looking now, that his career is starting to fall off, and injuries have really, really taken a toll on his career.
Yeah, it was, and that MVP year he had, it was just a stellar career, and it looked like his career was going to take off, and he was just going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Without his number one wide receiver too that year too. Didn't have Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, he didn't. And
but Calvin Benjamin's terrible though.
Now he's in with the Bills now. Right?
Who knows where he is now? He's probably
that or maybe I don't know. He might not even be in the league anymore.
Maybe not. Maybe it's another Benjamin, but yeah, he probably did, because I know the Panthers are going to save $19 million if they cut or trade him, and I think he's due $21 million. So they, and Kyle Allen hasn't been doing a bad job at all either. That he had one bad game against the Niners, but it's sad to kind of see Cam Newton, with all these injuries just piling up, and it's kind of just derailed his whole career. And he looked like he was to be great, and then you saw him the one year at Auburn where he led them to the national championship that year. He had an unbelievable season down in Auburn.
Grown man.
Yeah,
that year.
Oh yeah, he was with his body. So it's tough, and the way Kyle Allen just went too, it just kind of makes even a tougher decision for the Panthers. Do we kind of get do we get rid of him? And it sounds like it's probably going in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trade him, because he still has talent, obviously, and you don't want to lose that guy for nothing. Obviously you'd save, like you said, what, $19 million against the cap. Which obviously is a sizable chunk. You can use that in whatever pieces, because they do still have to, especially I think secondary wise, can really use a boost in terms of talent. But going back to Cam Newton with his stats, even his rookie year was an insane year, but at the same point still had 17 interceptions, which he did have a good amount of rushing touchdowns. Obviously, he had 14 that year, but he was always played by inconsistency. There's games kind of his 2 games against the Patriots. I remember those vividly. It was really good games by him. And he was able to perform.
Beat the Patriots twice.
Yeah, and then he had good games against some other teams, but then it was just you get one side of the spectrum, either super good or super bad, and it was nowhere in between. We're going even back to his MVP year, where he had 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and he also had 10 rushing touchdowns. Still he didn't even just a hair under 60%. And in this game, it's all about precision. How can you get can you distribute the ball? Okay, if it's a 3-step drop and the ball's supposed to be there to this receiver, can you do that? Cam Newton can't really do it, because when someone that has his physical ability, someone like him, like an RG3 or even a Lamar Jackson, there's their mentality, I feel always is, on a big down, I can scramble for it, because I've been able to do that all my life. Even Cam Newton and Auburn, like you said, no one had a chance of stopping him ever. Even he made a ridiculous comeback against Bama that year, went down 24-0, something like that. So that's always been his mentality, and he's never been able to correct that. So that's just been his issue. That's why Kyle Allen obviously isn't a better quarterback, but the offense has moved better, because he's able to distribute and be more on time with the timing when there's a 5-step drop, 7-step drop, get the ball out. So it's unfortunate for him, because you never want to see someone's career with a team possibly end because of injuries. Want them to go out on their own terms, but it's football. Injuries happen, unfortunately.
Absolutely. So Minshew Mania is over in Jacksonville as Doug Marrone has chosen to start Nick Foles in their Week 11 matchup against the Colts, and I agree with this decision. I mean, I think Minshew got off to a really good start, but he didn't play well in the game against the Saints where they lost 13-6.
Yeah, it was cute for like 4 weeks.
Yeah. He was decent against the Bengals and the Jets, but those are the Bengals and Jets. And last week he was terrible against the Texans, and I think you got to make the move because Nick Foles is a quarterback who's had success in this league. Yes, a lot of people think Nick Foles is an average regular season quarterback, but you remember 2013, 27-2, led the Eagles to the playoffs. He was 6-2 in 2014 before he got hurt, and then he had that terrible year with the Rams, which people,
Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, exactly, and that's when people kind of went off the Nick Foles train. But then in 2017, we all, just Kyle and you and Justin know very well,
it didn't happen.
He had that unbelievable run and won the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then last year. Yeah, the Eagles were 6-7, won 4 in a row, got the Eagles to the divisional round of the playoffs, and it wasn't for an Alshon Jeffrey drop. They might have even got to the NFC Championship game. So I think this is the right move to start Nick Foles. I think this offense has improved this year. Leonard Fournette is healthy. The offensive line's a little bit better, and DJ Shark has really stepped up as the number 1 receiver. So I think this is the right move for the Jaguars to go with Nick Foles, and I think this move gives them a better chance to make the playoffs than starting Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, it does, and I've kind of expected. I love Gardner Minshew and all that. I great story coming out of Washington State. But yeah, Nick Foles is the right choice. He's been the guy that's been able to lead teams, and this team's right in the thick of the AFC South division. Especially now with the Texans losing J.J. Watt, but it does hurt the Jags that they got swept by the Texans and all that. But they're still right in the thick of it, and I think if you do want to get in the playoffs, your better shot to get there is with Nick Foles as your quarterback rather than Gardner Minshew. And I think they could, and it's going to be interesting how they kind of use Foles with the injury. Do they kind of do what the Eagles did with him with the RPO stuff, or
wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, if you saw it worked out very well. But it's interesting what they do. But it's the right move, I think, for the Jaguars to make.
Definitely. The thing with Leonard Fournette, or the key to this team so far this year, I think we can all agree is Leonard Fournette's healthy. I mean, he's averaging 4.8 yards a carry, which is insanely good. He's averaging 92 yards a game. So right now he's on pace to get somewhere between 1,500 to 1,400 yards, which is saying that's what you were expecting out of Leonard Fournette when he came out of LSU. But you get him, possibly find the number 1 receiver in DJ Chark, and Nick Foles has been known to come up in big plays. Later down the line, if he's able to stay healthy this year, the Jags, to me, can be one of those teams where I don't think they're going to make a playoff. I think they have literally 0 chance of being a Super Bowl contender, but they could be a bona fide nuisance to try to get rid of because they have a pretty good pass rush with Yannick Ngakoue, Josh Allen, Calais Campbell. So you got a good pass rush. So your secondary is obviously weakened because of Jalen Ramsey no longer being there. Their linebackers are solid, but not great. But offensively wise, you're building towards something nice where a year or two down the line, if you put in the right pieces, whether it's via draft, free agency, you can have something pretty nice down there in Jacksonville.
Absolutely. So we're now going to get into the games in Week 11, and we're going to start with an AFC West matchup tomorrow night as the Chargers travel to Oakland to face the Raiders. And I think this game is going to be a really, really competitive game. I think that the Chargers had a really good week last week, and I think offensively they have a really good week this week. I think the Raiders, but I don't think they'll get a lot of. Melvin Gordon will have a good week. I think they'll struggle because the Raiders are good against the run. But I think Phillip Rivers will have a really good game through the air. But I think the difference in this game is the Raiders are going to run the football better with Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs definitely goes for 100 yards, so that results in Derek Carr having a good game. And in a really close competitive game, I think the Raiders pull the upset, and I got them going to 5-4. And Justin's brother's going to be happy, and Justin's dad and brother are going to be happy. I got them winning this game 31-27 on Thursday night over the Chargers.
I got them too, 27-24. It's also the last time Oakland is going to be hosting a divisional opponent in Oakland. So
wow. Have they played the Broncos yet?
Yeah, they played them back at Monday.
Week 1. Yeah, I got you. Week 1. Yeah.
So I think you also playing with a little bit of that energy. The Chargers, they started to figure out some things the last 2 weeks. They played well against the Packers last week. They shut down the Packers, only 184 yards of total offense last week.
Yeah, that probably, even though the Ravens destroyed the Patriots, that's probably the shocker of the week.
Yeah.
Their game against the Packers, what, 1.19-0?
Yeah, I think it was.
Ridiculous.
I think it was 19-0. But I think these Thursday night games are just so weird to call because the short week I know it's not too much to travel from LA to Oakland. I think it's only, I think it's only a short travel. But the Raiders too have been great on third down. They're 49% on third down. I know Worley just got banged up too in the secondary. Their secondary is like 32nd in the league right now. But I feel like a Thursday night at home, I think the Raiders take this one 27-24.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys in taking the Raiders. I think it'll probably be I'll say a 7-point victory for the Raiders. That Josh Jacobs has been, I thought he'd be solid his rookie year, and then obviously developed down the line. You see what you end up getting. He's been doing amazing so far this year. He's probably who else would be offensive rookie of the year that you could think of?
Not really. He is offensive rookie of the year. Derek Bowe's a defensive rookie of the year. He's offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, and he's playing pretty good. And the fact, I'm pretty sure I said this last week, Darren Waller to me might be the biggest surprise of this NFL season. I mean, 48 catches, 548 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he worked his way into a contract, if I'm not mistaken, was a 3-year deal worth $9 million per year. And for a guy that was drafted by the Ravens, had, I think with some substance abuse issues, and he's able to, overcome that and become a pretty good tight end. I mean, shows right there. I mean, you get Derek Carr some weapons, Tyrell Williams, Josh Jacobs. Solid team, and especially looking next year with those picks that they're going to be getting from Chicago because of the Mac trade, seems like going to be looking pretty nice in a couple of years.
I definitely agree there. I think John Gruden has him going on the right track. I didn't think that way at the beginning, but I definitely think John Gruden has him on the right track right now. We got an NFC South matchup in New Orleans, and this game should be a blowout as the Falcons play the Saints this week. The 7-1 Saints take on the 1-7 Falcons. I think this game's going to be a complete blowout. I think the Saints are going to do whatever they want. I know it's a division game. I don't really know each other, but I think the Saints are going to do whatever they want on offense. We're running the ball with Kamara and Latavius Murray. I think Michael Thomas has a big game. I think Drew Brees has a big game. And I think the Saints get pressure on Matt Ryan all day. The Falcons, like all year long, they won't be able to get their running game going. I think this is a blowout. I'm going 34-10. I'm surprised they didn't fire Dan Quinn during the bye week. I'm going 34-10. Saints over Falcons.
Yeah, it wasn't doing it ugly. I had the Saints 38-17. I had both teams coming out the bye week, so maybe the Falcons fixed a little bit of burnt during the bye week. I don't know, just some.
At least they keep it like close for a half, maybe.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe they figured out some issues.
Don't let Michael Thomas get 20 catches a game at this point.
I'm not banking on it, but maybe they keep it close for a little bit. But now that Drew Brees is now 100%, I know he played against the Cardinals, but now he's had the bye week too to get healthy. So I just feel it's just a bad time for the Falcons to face the Saints coming off a bye. And this was another game I think probably when we saw it, you figured this would be a good game week 1, but now Falcons just going the opposite way, and Saints win big at home, 38-17.
Yeah, I had the Saints one. I could see 24-point victory. It's going to be a blowout, especially in New Orleans. New Orleans at home is it's a different beast because they get the crowd in. Drew Brees, going down the field. It seems like almost at will when they're there. Michael Thomas, which I never understand completely how Michael Thomas, essentially being the only main receiving weapon that they've had, especially with Kamara being out, how this guy keeps getting catches after catches after catches after catches. Like, at some point, can you just triple team that man and make someone else beat you? I don't care who it is, whether it's Jared Cook or name another receiver on the team, which he really can, I feel like. But somehow this man so far this year still is getting 73 catches, 875 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's just that, I think that just really shows how smart of a head coach that Sean Payton is. He's just on another level offensively wise, and defensively wise, I mean, so far they're doing pretty good. 84 yards rushing, giving up 252 in the pass game. It's gonna be a blowout. And I just really wonder if the Falcons are just waiting to the end of the year, because like you said, why not just fire Dan Quinn already and just call it a day, cut bait, and move on with life? I don't understand that.
We got an AFC matchup in Tennessee as the Chiefs traveled to Tennessee to face the Titans, and I made the mistake last week of switching my pick after I doubted Andy Reid after when they said Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to play. We'll see if he plays this week, but either way, I'm going to go with the Chiefs this week. I think they've had some more success running the ball with Damian Williams. He had that huge touchdown run last week against the Falcons. Tyreek Hill had a huge week against the Titans last week. I think they get Travis Kelce more involved this week. Titans, I think, have success running the ball, though. Even though the Chiefs did a better job stopping the run last week, held Dalvin Cook under 100 yards. I think Derrick Henry has a big week on the ground, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think no matter who the quarterback is, Andy Reid will scheme something good if Matt Moore is the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes will play really well if he's the quarterback. And I got the Chiefs beating the Titans in Tennessee 27-20 this week.
Yeah, I got the same score as you, 27-20 Chiefs. That wasn't it, they were down. They were down 23-20. Kirk Cousins got them the lead, and then 2 field goals late. I think both under like 6 minutes ago. Then Chiefs come back and win that game. And and Andy Reid's such a good offensive mind that I guess any quarterback that he can throw out there, they're probably going to be successful, especially with those weapons that they have too.
And Matt Moore literally was teaching high school football last year.
Yeah, so cool story for Matt Moore. The journeyman backup. They play well, and for Tennessee, their defense wasn't great last week. Christian McCaffrey ran all over him. I think he had 146 rushing yards. I think Williams is going to have a big day against them on the ground. Henry could definitely have a big game on the ground for them, but Tannehill hasn't been awful. Their offense looks a little bit better with Tannehill in there than Mariota, which I think we could have probably saw coming, probably because that offense was not great. But KC's going to get the win, 27-20 on the road. I
have the Chiefs also winning by 7, but I have it being 31-24. I think Tennessee's going to be able to control most of the game on the ground with Derrick Henry. Because obviously, I don't really see anyone that's really going to be able to tackle the guy that maybe with Chris Jones, just single-handedly. And I just think after a while, like, the time of possession, I could see it being like 40-20 Tennessee. But, the big play opportunity, how do you guard Tyreek Hill? You see on the touchdown run by Damon Williams that Tyreek Hill just tracked him down with like no problem. That guy is just, that guy has to run. That guy would probably have a faster 40 time than John Ross did in the combine if he ran. I want to see Tyreek Hill run 40, but probably not right.
And then because Tennessee won't have Malcolm Butler because he just broke his wrist, so they probably won't have their best. They won't have their best corner.
He's on IR now.
Yeah, so they won't have their best corner.
Poor Malcolm Butler. Sad days, but. You have him. You have Sammy Watkins. You have Markel Hardman. It's speed. And then you mix in Travis Kelce. Then when Mahomes is healthy, you mix in. Well, that guy can probably throw 80 yards, almost no problem. And he has the ability to scramble. How do you stop that offense? Tennessee isn't going to.
We got an NFC North matchup in Chicago as the Lions travel to Chicago to face the Bears. Both these teams are struggling, and I think this is going to be a really competitive game. Obviously, it's a division game, and I think that the Bears defense gets pressure on Stafford. They stop the run. They force Stafford to be one-dimensional. Even though Stafford has played really well this year, I think he's going to have a tough day against the Bears defense. I think the Bears are going to do enough offensively to win this game. I think they'll get enough rushing yards from David Montgomery, who's really struggled this year. They've really struggled this year running the football. I think Mitchell Trubisky, who's had a terrible year, but I think he does enough to win this game. The Lions defense is not good. So I got the Bears winning it in a really close game. I'm going to go 20-16 Chicago to snap their 4-game losing streak.
I have the Bears winning this 20-18, so I have the Lions covering. I think the Lions blow this thing late. Like, I think maybe the Bears go down and get like a game-winning field because the Lions cannot hold on to the lead. They cannot close out close games. And I think the Bears will be able to this week, but if the Bears lose, that's going to get very that season going to start really getting hot for Matt Nagy. But again, the last week, I think the Bears had at one point 184 yards, I think something like that, like late in the third quarter or something. They just can't move the ball. And they only ran it, I think, with Montgomery 14 times. So they got to be able to run the ball. They can't just keep putting it in the hands of Trubisky. I think he threw the ball about 40 times. But I know they got behind, but that's something they can't do. And I think soon, if they keep losing like this, the defense is going to just start the defense, I think, is going to start letting some stuff up. Frustration.
I have the Lions winning by 7. I just got to see it from Trubisky to believe it at this point. I'm so far just done with that. The Bears defense is so good. And like you said, as good of a defense as they are, if you keep putting them on the field time after time after time without really moving the ball, eventually they're going to give up points. They can only do so much. Especially with the rules nowadays. The 85 Bears saying to steel curtain saying 2000 Ravens. The rules just don't allow you to do what those teams did. People are going to score points on you. And with the Lions giving up 135 yards rushing, if the Bears aren't able to get at least a consistent ground game going in this game, you have no chance at this point. And with Trubisky, I mean, you got to figure out something. I mean, if he doesn't have a good second half of the year, he's done in Chicago. There's no way that Chicago fans are going to deal with Trubisky as a quarterback next year. Because we see what Trubisky is. A quarterback that can move, but can't make a throw. We cannot make a throw with any role of consistency. Sit back, make him make a throw, you'll win. Easy, no problem.
We have the Battle of New York this Sunday as the 2-7 Giants face the 1-7 Jets. And both these teams, the Giants are coming in on a 5-game losing streak. The Jets are 1-7. I mean, Sam Darnold has not played well at all. They haven't been able to run the ball. Their offensive line has been terrible. Adam Gase has been, which I thought was a good hire, has been absolutely pathetic so far for the Jets. I mean, defensively, they don't have C.J. Mosley. They traded Leonard Williams. Jamal Adams is questioning what's going on there too. And then they look at the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones has struggled. The offensive line has struggled. Even Saquon Barkley has struggled since he's returned. He's not had a game over 100 yards since he's returned to the lineup. The Giants defense has been terrible this season, giving up big plays. You saw that Monday night when they had that 12-3 lead. You have that big touchdown to Blake Jarwin. Then they couldn't get off the field on third down. They gave that big touchdown to Amari Cooper. The Giants defense has been awful this year, and something's got to give in this game. I mean, I think with some of the injuries offensively, Le'Veon Bell might not play for the Jets, who hasn't been good at all this year either. There's Evan Ingram could be out for the Giants. Sterling Shepard could be out for the Giants. I think this is a really, really ugly game. I think that, I think Saquon Barkley could still struggle to get over 100 yards rushing, because the one thing the Jets do well on defense, they have been able to stop the run this year. I think that Sam Darnold, with the pressure from Lorenzo Carter and Marcus Golden and O'Shea Zimenez, I think that he's going to struggle again this week. I don't think they're going to get the run game going with Le'Veon Bell. I think this is a really, really ugly game at the Meadowlands. You're probably going to see turnovers from both quarterbacks, because both these quarterbacks are turnover machines, and I think that this game is close, competitive, but in the end, I got my Giants winning 20-17 against the Jets.
Yeah, I got the Giants winning this one as well. I have them winning 24-17. And I heard this yesterday too. I'm like, okay, well, this probably, could this be the first time we'll ever see two teams get booed, like at the same time, serenading, like boos at the same time?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, like we could actually, see a ton of boos on both sides. This is gonna be ugly, and it's pretty sad to see these teams kind of. It's I think everyone thought the Jets were kind of close to being a playoff contender this year, and Giants, a couple years away, but both teams has not been good. The Giants got out to a good start last week. That first half was pretty well. They even, and the turnovers killed them last second.
The interception before the half was huge. I don't want to hear about the black cat. The interception was much bigger than the black cat. I don't want to hear about the black cat at all.
Yeah, that probably did it. Daniel Jones had 3 turnovers by himself, the 2 fumbles, the 1 interception. He's got to be able to protect the ball when he's running, or slide, or just get out of bounds. If I'm a Giants fan, every time he's like running in the middle of the field and he's not going to slide or anything, I'd be scared he's going to get hit, because I'm afraid he's going to fumble the football.
Like watching it like this, just like, oh God.
Yeah, he's going to be able to hold on to it, but this has been ugly for both teams. The Jets are only averaging 157 yards throwing the football this year, so that's worse than the Bears, and it's just been a poor year for the Jets. You lost to the Dolphins. There's no way that the Giants lose this game.
Yeah, I had the Giants win as well. It's going to be an ugly game. It's going to see mostly backups with all the injuries, and I think the main story about both these teams is the quarterbacks. I mean, Dan Jones still in his rookie year, so obviously he's going to have years down the line. But he started off pretty good, and people were riding the Daniel Dimes, like that nickname. And then I think it's kind of, the shine's kind of worn off a little bit. People got out of the honeymoon phase, and we kind of, seen what this is what Daniel Jones' rookie year is going to be. We'll see what it's down the line. You get more weapons. You get a chance to develop with the weapons he has now. Sam Darnold wise, are people done with like saying that he's going to be like the best young quarterback that there is? I mean, people were saying that coming out of the draft. Look at what he did last year. He's okay, he's solid, decent. This year, it's pathetic.
Yeah, he's in a terrible situation, but the problem is why he's not going to be a superstar is he can't overcome that situation. And I don't want to hear,
at least if you have a decent season.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear about the offensive line, okay? In the NFL in 2019, you got to overcome bad protection. Yes, it plays a factor, but offensive lines are not as good as they used to be. So I don't want to hear about the Jets fans talk about the offensive line with Sam Darnold's struggles. You look at Deshaun Watson. He's offensive offensive line has been terrible for the last 2 to 3 years, and he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I don't want to hear about the offensive line. Sam Darnold has to step up. Can't make terrible decisions, just like he did. He had that terrible throw on the goal line, and I've been a Sam Darnold defender from the beginning. I wanted the Giants to take him over Saquon Barkley, but Sam Darnold has got to step up. He's got to play. I know the team is terrible around him. I know Le'Veon Bell hasn't played well. I know the offensive line is terrible. I know that they don't have really a number one receiver, but as a quarterback in 2019, you got to overcome these things and at least be capable. And the last couple of weeks, Sam Darnold has not been capable at all throwing interceptions.
Yeah, and that interception he threw, I'm pretty sure, wasn't against the Dolphins where on the goal line he like shovel passed
That was awful.
That is something that ends up on like when you see highlights of someone, let's say obviously like we'll take quarterbacks that are drafted high, and you see like the lowlights of their career and why they become a bust. That's it. Yeah. That literally is not top 10 material, like number one right there.
Yeah, and I want to, quickly say that, what the Steelers are doing? Like Jadon Sandals caught 13 passes last week. Why don't you just dump it off to, like a Le'Veon Bell? Like the Giants do kind of the same thing with Barkley. Just, you have Le'Veon Bell, just give it to him, throw screens.
Or at least you saw what the Steelers did with Le'Veon Bell. They literally would line him up at wide receiver and he'd run wide receiver routes.
To do that too.
There's an idea, Jets.
Just give him some confidence. And I think that's the issue.
The thing that's kind of scaring me about Saquon Barkley is he seems to be better catching balls out of the backfield the last couple of weeks than he has been running the football. Because you saw the game last week, he had that 65-yard reception. It did not like he didn't look 100%. I think the problem is him running between the tackles, and that still kind of is a concern right now with Saquon Barkley.
I know that high ankle sprain takes a little bit.
It does take a little bit to heal, but
it's like I feel like it can get back to like 90% relatively quick, but getting from like 90 to 100, it's a slow crawl.
Yeah, and it seems to be with looking at his last 3 games. It really seems to be a little bit of. It definitely seems to be a slow crawl. And the problem
I think that Saquon's always had, even last year when he had an amazing rookie year, he always wanted the big play. Always, every play. It's just like sometimes just get the 5 yards and we'll move on with life.
Yeah,
go there kind of like
the way Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook are running. Like you look at Ezekiel, look at the difference. Ezekiel Elliott completely outplayed Saquon Barkley on Monday night. He was much better than Saquon Barkley because he got the short yards. He's not looking for the splash play. He got the short yardage. He trusts his offensive line and got the short yardage, while Saquon Barkley is looking for the splash play.
And that's the problem with people that have freakish ability. In this case, run backs. They rely on it too much instead of just if someone like Saquon Barkley, you just keep pounding them 4 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards. Eventually, comes second half, unless you're facing a god tier squad, you're gonna break a big run at some point. Stop trying to we can have 3 yards here, make it 2nd and 7, and they try to bounce it out, and now you're at 2nd and 13. Congrats, now you're behind. And I don't get it. And with Sam Darnold, what shows just what his season is, just look at that Patriots team. Every interception he had was stupid. The interception he threw to Gilmore over the middle, dumb. The interception he threw, I believe, was to Terrence Brooks in the end zone, dumb. Every interception he throws, it feels like is 1,000% on him. It's not maybe, his receiver like gave up on a route and that's why the interception. It just looks like terrible throws. Just god awful at this point.
Exactly. We got an AFC North matchup in Cincinnati as the Ravens face the Bengals. Before we talk about the game, we got one of our listeners on Facebook Live, Anthony Ovina, and we went at it back and forth in the summer about the Ravens. And I was not high on the Ravens going into the year. I thought that the loss of C.J. Mosley, the loss of Terrell Suggs, the loss of Eric Weddle, and the loss of Zadarius Smith was really going to hurt that team, but it really hasn't. They've done a really good job stopping the run. The last couple of weeks, Lamar has really proven to be a pocket passer. So I'll give Anthony a lot of props there. He was right about how this team was going to be a better football team and and it looks like they're going to win the AFC North and how they're going to win the AFC North. And a big reason why is because of the coaching. And John Harbaugh is one of the top coaches in the league. He's been there for 12 years. And instead of being, the thing you like about John Harbaugh is instead of being like one of these offensive minded or defensive minded coach and focusing on that side of the ball, he lets his assistants like Greg Roman and his defensive coordinator focus on each side of the ball, and he manages the game. And that's why the Ravens have success. That's a big reason why the Ravens have success And then you look at it on the flip side for the Bengals and the coach they hired. They basically hired an independent contractor, an offensive-minded coach with Zach Taylor, and you're seeing how big of a disaster that was. And this week should be a blowout, and the Ravens should win big. I got the Ravens beating. I think the Ravens have a huge week. I think they run the ball with Lamar and Mark Ingram again. I think they get pressure on Ryan Finley in his first start. And I don't care if this is a division game, just like the Falcons and Saints this week. I got the Ravens winning big. I got the Ravens winning 27-10 over the Bengals this week.
Yeah, no, I got the Ravens too big. And the thing was, a couple weeks ago when they played, it was only 23-17. And if you looked at all the stats, look at the total score, you'd be going, how is this game a 6-point ball game? But the Ravens had 11 penalties for like 100 yards, I think. So I think that was the biggest difference of the game right there, was the Ravens just probably, helped the Bengals out with how many penalties they had. So I think the Ravens won this one 31-17. I have it at. But for the Bengals, I'm excited to see Ryan Finley. One of the most accurate passers he was in college. Throws an accurate ball. I've heard he's had his problems with changing up protections at the line, and he does struggle with blitzes at times. And what we saw the Ravens do the Patriots with Earl Thomas coming and all that, I think that could give Finley some problems. But I'm excited to see Ryan Finley play. Adrian Green, I heard, may play too, so that really would help out Ryan Finley to get a great weapon out there. I know it's probably not going to be the same AJ Green, but it'd just be nice to have him out there.
Yeah, it's better than Joe Schmo that they have, with second string. But
yeah,
with the Ravens, obviously, yeah, I think we can all agree they're going to win big. I have them win I'll say 34-10, and I think it's just going to be an absolute blowout. It shows how good of a coach Harbaugh is, the fact that you had Joe Flacco for a while, who was the ideal, I'm not going to say ideal, but the prototype pocket passer, and has a cannon arm. Now you go to a quarterback that's literally, I think, the polar opposite. And the fact that you're able to adapt your offense to being 2 tight end, 3 tight end heavy. I mean, he did that a ton against the Patriots. It was a lot of Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, and then Nick Boyle even caught a touchdown pass against the Patriots. And you're mixing that in. You're letting Lamar be Lamar. You're not trying to make a guy who's, I think we can say, easily the fastest quarterback in the league. You're not trying to make him into a pocket passer. I mean, trying to develop that talent, but at the same point, you're mixing in his running ability, which I think they're just doing it perfectly. In the way that they look coming off a bye week, that's what a well-coached team is supposed to look like coming off of a bye week. You're supposed to be prepared. You're supposed to have stuff drawn up on defense that they haven't seen, have stuff drawn up on offense that they haven't seen, and have a game plan that's, next level. And that's why they're a good team this year. And, I mean, good luck, Bengals. You're going to get smoked.
We got the Cardinals traveling down to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers, and I got an upset this week. I think that Kyler Murray has a good week again. I really like the way Kyler Murray has played this year. I think outside of his size, you got to like everything about him. He's got a good arm. He's accurate. He can move. He's mobile. Outside of his size, you pretty much like everything about him. And this is proving that size in a quarterback is really starting not to matter as much in the NFL anymore. And we all know Cliff Kingsbury was 100% right, drafting him number 1 and getting rid of Josh Rosen. Mobility is huge in the league today, and you got to have today, pretty much for the most part, unless your quarterback is so great at the line of scrimmage, like a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady or a Phillip Rivers, you have to have a mobile quarterback today. The days of the Eli Mannings, the Tom Bradys, the Joe Flaccos, the Andy Daltons, the Drew Breeses, the Phillip Rivers, the Peyton Mannings, those days are over. You got to have a mobile quarterback today that can get away from pressure, and Kyler Murray can do just that, and he's been playing really well this year, and I think he has a really good game against a secondary, which is the worst in football. The Bucs secondary is the worst in football. You saw what Daniel Jones did to them in week 3, and you saw last week Russell Wilson completely tear that secondary apart. Bucs can stop the run, but their secondary is terrible. And I think the Bucs will get a little bit on the run game, get the run game going a little bit with Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber. And I think that Jameis Winston will have a decent game. But the difference is going to be Kyler Murray will make enough plays against that secondary, and the pressure that the Cardinals with Chandler Jones will get on Jameis Winston will be the difference in this game. And I got the Cardinals winning an upset 27-24 over the Bucs.
I have the Bucs win this one 34-31. So I think the Cardinals do cover. I think this would be an absolute shootout, and I think whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. Yeah, Tampa went up to Seattle last week, played well. Offensively, they played pretty well. Defensively was a different issue, but Jameis played well. Held on the ball, no interceptions. played pretty well. You know, they gave Seattle all they could handle last week.
Especially in Seattle.
Yeah, so that's not easy to go to. But and right now, for all the new head coaches, Cliff Kingsbury's in second behind Matt LaFleur right now. So, you know, for everybody,
you might arguably put him in first because you look at what LaFleur has there, has Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you probably could because he inherited a good team. You know, I guess all the rest of them really. Well, I guess Adam Gates technically kind of hot. Well, I guess he signed Le'Veon and all that, but I
don't think he wanted Le'Veon though.
That organization's completely dysfunctional. Yes.
Yeah, it is. But I think Arizona hangs in there. This will be a shootout. Both these offenses can score some points. And the other thing is too, Arizona, they haven't lost a fumble yet. Like that seems, if you're 10 week, they played 10 games or 9 games. They haven't even lost a fumble yet. They've been good at holding on to the football. They haven't been great at forcing turnovers, but they've been good at not giving away. And Tampa has been, so that concerned me a little bit. But I think Tampa at home pulls this one out.
Yeah, but the Cardinals one, I have it being really high scoring. I have it being a 37-30 victory for the Cardinals. Like I said, the Buccaneers defense is amazing against the run. Passing wise, they are god awful, and you have a very pass heavy system. And I want to say futuristic because I don't think that's the right word, but it's like a system that not a lot of people have seen a ton in the pros. Obviously, you see it in college. It's a very popular kind of way to play football on offense in college. And we have Kyler Murray, who's shown the ability. There's times, again, with him, he's a rookie, so there's times where he's struggled. There's times where he's shown his next level talent that he has with moving the ball and his accuracy. The one thing I love the most, and I feel like he's not Russell Wilson yet with it, but the thing that I love the most about him is that his touch on the deep ball, it just seems, when he throws a deep ball, it seems like it's just silky, it's smooth, and it seems like it's almost effortless, which kind of seems like what Russell Wilson does. And if he can start finding, I think one of the keys for this offense, if he could start finding Andy Isabella more, with that speed demon that he is, then you can start opening up the big plays. And if you could do that and then mixing in, your running backs, whether it be, Kenyon Drake, Edmonds if he plays, David Johnson if he plays, this offense could end up becoming next level offense. And I just don't see a way that with it being a high scoring game, I don't see a way where Winston's not going to keep turning the ball over, especially with someone like Chandler Jones being on him all game.
That that's a very good chance of happening. So we got an AFC matchup in Cleveland of two teams with two young quarterbacks going in different directions. You got the 6-2 Bills against the 2-6 Browns, and I think more of the same happens this week. I think that coaching is going to be the big difference in this game. Sean McDermott is a much better coach than Freddie Kitchens. I think that the Bills have success running the ball with Devin Singletary and Frank Gore because Cleveland cannot stop the run at all. And I think for Cleveland, they'll be able to run the ball with Nick Chubb because that's the one weakness of that Bills defense is their run defense. But I think that they'll want to force the ball to Odell Beckham, and that's going to hurt them in this game because
especially with Tre'Davious White.
You have Tre'Davious White and Jerry Hughes rushing Baker Mayfield. I think that's going to hurt them in this game and eventually lead to turnovers. And eventually, I think the Bills pull this one out in a close one to go to 7-2. I got the Bills beating the Browns 23-17 to continue, and the Browns' miserable season will continue this Sunday.
Yep, I got the Bills going to Cleveland win this one 20-17. I think Josh Allen does enough. I think the Browns last week, they kicked 4 field goals when they got towards the red zone. 4 field goals will never win you a ball game. And they cannot finish drives. It's been kind of a problem for them all year. The same thing's going to happen, I think, this week. I think, Buffalo's going to do enough. This is a really good defense, Buffalo. I think they're going to give Baker some problems. And the Browns go to 2-7 and just complete miserable. A lot of miserable fans in Cleveland for hoping they were going to have a good season. I think doesn't Kareem Hunt come back next week, so maybe that helps the offense a little bit. But
was it this week or is it next week?
It's been 8 games, so actually this week.
Yeah, I think it is this week.
He could. I don't know if he is. I haven't heard anything on that, but
I think he might. He'll probably have like a small play. He's not going to be that starter, but I think you got him just to see. Yeah, but I think right now the Bills will win this. I think it's going to be a 4-point win for them. I think for the sole reason, what have the Browns been so far, other than a complete underwhelming team? They had next level talent, I thought, at a lot of positions. I thought Baker was a very, very promising young quarterback. Odell has the ability as one of a top, 3 receiver in the league.
He's not top 3 now. He's probably arguably maybe not even top 5.
Yeah, and now it's like it's not coming to fruition in Cleveland. Jarvis Landry's a very good too, but it's been missed. Obviously, Njoku's been out. Nick, I think the only consistent thing has been Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's been performing amazing, even against the Patriots when he had 2 fumbles. He had a very good game against them. And the problem with the Browns, I feel like it's like passing wise, is that Baker Mayfield still seems like he's kind of a one read kind of quarterback. He doesn't seem like he doesn't read the field completely. And I'll go back to the play where Odell was complaining about against the Broncos. Feels like on a big 4th down play, even if a good corner is on your number 1 receiver, which obviously Chris Harris is still a pretty good corner. If you have a receiver like talent of Odell, if he's single covered, I'm looking at him first. And not like it took him a second to get open. It was hike, swim move, gone. You just put a good ball out there, touchdown, you guys probably win the game. So he tries to throw it, if I'm not mistaken, to Jarvis Landry in coverage, gets broken up, you lose. That's just the problem with the team, and the fact of, again, the head coach is just not that kind of head coach. He does not deserve to be a head coach, and especially this team where you have a lot of ego, which Jarvis Landry has an ego, but it's not. I don't think it's a bad ego. He's pretty tamed. And
Odell's is worse than his. Yeah.
Odell has an ego. Baker Mayfield has an ego. If that man stops doing commercials, please, for love of God. I mean, you saw the last game. He shaved twice during that game. You saw he went in with a full on beard and everything, and then he shaved. I don't know what this man's going for. I mean, kind of looked like he had almost like a homeless man look to him. After the game, it's just it is all bad news for Cleveland. If you have any chance of saving your season, you got to win this game. But I would love if they could beat the Bills, give the Patriots a little bit of wiggle room in the AFCs, but I ain't anticipating that happening.
No, and I think the issue with the Browns, it all starts with the head coach, Freddie Kitchens. He should not be the head coach, but it also definitely lies on Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has regressed, and part of that is Freddie Kitchens, but part of that is definitely was brought up on himself. In the offseason, he was out doing commercials, out talking about Daniel Jones, out talking about how good the Browns were going to be. Instead of working on his craft, he was out, fooling around, chugging beers at Indians games. I mean, I think personally, he doesn't care about being great, and that's a real problem when you're a franchise quarterback. And that's why he's really, he had a good rookie year last year, but he's really struggled this year because I just don't think he cares about being great. And I think that's really been one of the biggest issues with the Browns. And also Odell Beckham, who a lot of people think he's not the best receiver in the game. Yes, I think he's a top 5 receiver, great talent. But the problem with Odell Beckham is he doesn't like Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, or Michael Thomas. They make their quarterback better. And I've known this as a Giants fan for 5 years. Odell Beckham doesn't make the quarterback better. He's great. He's great individual. He's really good individually, but he doesn't make a quarterback better. He doesn't make a team better. I think he's a phenomenal talent, but he doesn't make you better. And that was evidence when Odell wasn't showing up to OTAs. If you're a new player on a new team, you got to be there day 1 of OTAs working with your quarterback,
especially a young quarterback,
not hanging out in LA. And that's exactly what Odell Beckham wasn't doing. So that's why I think this is a combination of everything of Kitchens, Baker, and Odell not getting on the same page. That's why they're 2-6, and that's why they're playing the way they are.
And I think specifically with Kitchens, it's the situational stuff. Even going back, I'm trying to think of what game it was. But I think it was early in the season where they had 3 timeouts, and I'm mistaken, on the goal line, and they went 5 wide.
The Rams, that's on the
the Rams. There you go. Yep, that game. They went 5 wide every play. You have Nick Chubb. Run the ball. For the love of God. Please just run the ball there. You have timeouts. You can do it without a single issue worrying about the clock. Unless you're just not there to call a timeout. But that, and then the fact that with Baker, with you being so confident, I don't mind you being confident. That's what a quarterback should do. A quarterback without confidence gonna be terrible. Just is what it is. Problem is, I don't want you writing checks that you can't cash. I wouldn't mind a quarterback that's been there, done that. Let's throw out a Rivers, a Breeze, a Russell, a Rodgers. I'll even throw Mahomes out there because he had obviously ridiculous last year. Brady. If they wanted to talk a whole lot and be like, you know what, we're amazing. We're going to go 14-2. We're going to put up points. We're going to be Super Bowl contenders. I wouldn't mind that. You've been there. You've done that. What has Baker Mayfield done? What was it? The Browns 7-9 last year?
Yeah.
7-8-1.
Yeah, 7-8-1.
Yeah.
So congrats, you weren't even on a 500 team, and you've been making noise. This is my thing that I've been saying all year. Welcome to being the hunted. You went from the hunters to the hunted. You made your bet, lie in it now.
Exactly. And we're going to go on to the 4 o'clock games now as the Panthers, with Kyle Allen, he'll be the starter for the entire season, travel to Green Bay to face the Packers. And I think this is a week on offense. The Packers really bounce back. I think Aaron Rodgers has a big game. Aaron Jones has a big game. I think Devontae Adams has a good game too. I think Rodgers has a bounce back this week. The Packers get into the 30s on offense. I do think the Panthers compete in the game, though. I think Christian McCaffrey has a big game, which is going to set up play action for Kyle Allen. Christian McCaffrey continues his MVP level. He's an MVP candidate, and he continues to be that this week. But in a close game, I got Green Bay winning by a touchdown. I got Green Bay beating the Panthers 31-24.
Yeah, I got the Packers win this one 30-23. Just a miserable effort by the Packers last week. They did not play well at all, and LA just got absolutely just run off the field. Only 184 yards of offense. Yeah, they definitely bounced back at home against a good Carolina team. They're only one game back too, so this could, something goes down, this could maybe determine home field, maybe for a 2 seed or whatever, maybe late in the year. So I think the Packers bounce back. Rodgers plays well. I think the Packers may have some struggles slowing down McCaffrey because he's been so good, but everybody seems they've been struggling to slow him down. But the Packers end up winning the game.
Yeah, I'll have the Packers winning it by a touchdown as well for the sole fact. I mean, quarterback-wise, Kyle Allen versus Aaron Rodgers, I think, I think it's pretty obvious. Aaron Rodgers is a lot better. The problem is the Packers' defense, passing-wise, I think is very good. You have a pretty young secondary, but it's freakishly athletic everywhere. Adrian Amos is amazingly fast. Darnell Savage Jr. Darnell Savage is amazingly fast. Their corners, whether it's Jair Alexander, is it Kevin King, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name? And then I'm trying to think what the other corner that I can't think on top of my head. But they're all very good, very young, very athletic. And then your linebacker, Preston Smith, who I swear to God, every time I watch that game, he looks like he's 7 feet tall. That is a big boy right there. And then you add Darius Smith and then Kenny Clark in the middle. Like, you have a very good pass defense. Problem is their rush defense it's like Charmin soft. And why go up against their amazing pass defense if you can just run the ball? And guess what? You have a top 3 right there for MVP. I think you can easily make a case that he could win it right now. Christian McCaffrey, just give him the ball all day. I think eventually the Packers are gonna stack 8, 9 in the box. I mean, if you have to, stack 10 in the box. I don't care. Just stop it. Make Kyle Allen have to beat you, and eventually that will wear him down, and the Packers will get a key turnover too, and they'll win the game by 7.
We have an inter-conference, and we got an AFC-NFC matchup in Pittsburgh this week as the Rams travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. And with the potential of James Conner being out again, and Steelers got a little lucky the last week with that interception return for a touchdown, and then the fact Brissett got hurt, because if Brissett doesn't get hurt, they don't win that game. I think Mason Rudolph struggles against the Rams defense. I think that Aaron Donald has a good game. I think Dante Fowler has a good game, and they contain the run game. And I think on the Rams side of the ball, I think Gurley and Dontrell Henderson run the ball pretty well. I think Goff has a decent game, and I got the Rams winning this. I got the Rams winning by a touchdown. I got the Rams beating the Steelers 24-17 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I got the Rams winning this one 27-20 on the road. I like what they're doing with Mason Rudolph, though. They're just dumping it off kind of to Samuels, and if Connor plays, they'll have Connor back there. Yeah, the Rams, I think, will be able to slow that down a little bit more than the Colts, but I like how they're not really, they're using Rudolph the right way, trying to give him some confidence, trying to build some confidence in him. So I like what they're doing. Yeah, they got, they survived against the Colts. They're lucky too. The snap wasn't a great snap and hold, and Vinatieri kicked the laces. So they kind of held on there too with that. Rams coming off a bye too, and I think the Rams will be able to come on the road and get the win in Pittsburgh.
I have the Rams winning the game by 10. I think it's just whether it's Aaron Donald or Dante Fowler, someone's going to be coming with that big turnover in the fourth quarter, and that's when the Rams are then going to make it 2 scores. And I think Steelers just are not going to be able to play catch up at that point. I think right now, if you're the Rams right now, you're 5-3, Pittsburgh's 4-4. Talent wise, this should be on paper should be no contest. if you're the Rams, obviously they have Fowler, Donald, you have Goff. Oh, Cooks may or may not play, but you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Todd Gurley. Who do the Steelers really have that's a next level talent? Juju on offense? Okay,
You've seen the issues, though, this year since Antonio Brown left. That Juju being the number one hasn't really adjusted.
Yeah, he's had to. I feel like he'll be able to do that next year, but this year, I mean, welcome to life without AB, man. James Washington ain't that guy, so he's having to. You live and you learn. Put it that way. And I think if the Rams, if you have a chance to keep up in the NFC, you gotta win this game. Please just get Todd Gurley going. That just makes your offensive life so much easier when you're at least able to have a decent run game. You can mix in the play action, which then opens up the big plays, which that offense is based upon. Just do it. Just try it at least. I feel like they'll be able to do that, and the Steelers will end up losing to the Rams by 10.
We have an AFC matchup in Indianapolis, and this should be a blowout because I think Jacoby Brissett's going to come back for the Colts this week. I think the Colts win big over the Dolphins. Marlon Mack has a big game. Even though T.Y. Hilton's out, Brissett, if he comes back, has a really good game. And I think the Colts defense gets pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick, shuts down the run game, and I think this is a blowout. I got the Colts winning 31-13 over the Dolphins.
I got the Colts win this one 28-14. You know, even Brian Hoyer starts, I think he should probably played pretty well. He wasn't awful at all last week in Pittsburgh. He kind of came in a tough situation. Played well. He's another journeyman. Dolphins won last week. Brian Fitzpatrick played really, really well. Surprised how well he played last week. I know the Jets aren't great, but hey, you know, for the weapons they have, they don't have much. He played well because then they lost their top guy too, Preston Williams too for the year. So that will hurt the Dolphins too. I think he was their leading receiver.
Poor Dolphins.
And you know, of course now Drake's gone, so I think the Miami's gonna have a tough time offensively. 28-14.
Yeah, I think the Colts are going to win by 17. I think it's going to be just I think even though they're going to win by 17, I think it's just going to be ugly. I mean, T.Y. Hilton's obviously out. They say Paris Campbell's out. So who's another wide receiver on the team? Is Funchess playing? Or has he been out for the season? I feel like I really haven't heard anything really from Devin Funchess. So it's like, okay, you have him, maybe. Okay, you have Eric Ebron. Your running game's been, pretty good. I just think it's going to be ugly. Like, you're going to be able to move the ball. I feel like defensively wise, they're going to do a lot of the work for the Colts. And, I mean, ask me if you heard this before. Another loss for Miami.
Yes. We got the Sunday night game between two pretty good teams. You got the Vikings going down to Dallas to face the Cowboys. And I think this is a really, really competitive game. I think both running backs are going to have success. I think Dalvin Cook will have success for the Vikings. And I think that Ezekiel will have success for the Cowboys, but I think this game's going to come down to which quarterback's better, Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins, and I'm taking Dak Prescott over Kirk Cousins. Yes, Kirk Cousins' quarterback rating is really high, but he puts up big numbers in games that aren't 1 o'clock games against bad teams. Against the good teams, Kirk Cousins just doesn't get it done, and I think that continues this week. I don't want to hear about how good. I don't want to hear about his quarterback rating. I don't want to hear about any of that stuff. Last week, game tied 23-23, couldn't get the team down the field. They punt. The Chiefs end up winning the game. Kirk Cousins cannot beat good teams in this league. His best win this year was against the Eagles, where he played great. But outside of that, Kirk Cousins can't beat good teams. I think this is a close, competitive game where Cousins has the ball in his hands at the end and probably throws an interception. And I hate to say this, but I'm picking the Cowboys to win this game because Kirk Cousins can't win big games. I'm going Cowboys 24-20 to win their third in a row over the Vikings.
Yeah, I got the Cowboys winning this one 23-16. And after Sunday's loss for the Vikings to KC, Kirk Cousins is now 0-10-1 with the Redskins when they were trailing the fourth quarter, and the one tie was his first game.
You mean the Vikings?
Yeah, I meant the Vikings are now 0-10-1 with Kirk Cousins starting quarterback. And the one tie was the Packers in the first time he was trailing the fourth quarter, his first game. So he's lost 10 straight trailing the fourth quarter. So the Vikings are losing going into the fourth quarter. It's over.
Fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah. They're Minnesota's regretting that one. That organization's regretting that one.
Just a little.
Yeah. But something tells me too that this is a game that Jason Garrett could just blow to. Like, he can make Kirk Cousins.
I don't think Kirk Cousins will let Jason Garrett blow it.
Yeah, it's a toss up. Do you
think Jason Garrett will be staring at Kirk Cousins like, so am I going to blow it or are you going to blow it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think Dallas at home, I don't think Garrett will. Be kind of funny if he did. But 23-16, Dallas with the win at home.
Yeah, I think Dallas is going to win as well. I think it's going to be a close game. And I always have that saying of, you got to prove it to me before I believe it. And Kirk Cousins is going to have to prove it to me in a big game, which this is, that he can actually, play the position of quarterback in a big game. Like he said, games that really don't matter, he can put up stats. Passer rating, QBR looks nice. Yards look nice. Touchdowns look nice. Very low in interceptions. Looks nice. When it comes to a big game, it's bad on top of bad on top of bad on top of bad. And right now, I think Cowboys are rolling pretty good. Dak Prescott's looking nice. Zeke's moving, he's getting the ball moving on the ground. Cooper's looking good. I think right now it's going to be a close game, but in the long run, I think Cowboys are going to win it by 7.
We have the Monday night game, an NFC West matchup. Probably the game of the week as the 7-2 Seahawks travel to Santa Clara to face the 8-0 49ers. This should be a great game. I mean, but I think the 49ers will do whatever they want on offense. I think they'll be up. Jimmy G, who had a great week last week, has another great week this week. I think they get that running game going with Telvin Coleman and Matt Breida. I think they're scoring in the 30s. I got them scoring 34 points this week. But Seattle, they got the MVP on the other side. Russell Wilson right now is the MVP of the league, and I think yes, the 49ers pass rush is great. Yes, their defense is really good. But I think the one thing in this game they will do, the Seahawks will have success running the ball with Chris Carson. I think he has a really big game because the Niners have trouble stopping the run, and they lost Quan Alexander for the season. And I think that Russell Wilson has a huge game. I think it's a fun, entertaining game, and I got the Niners winning it. This is definitely, I think this is going to be the Monday night game of the year. I got the Niners winning 34-27 over the Seahawks.
Yeah, I got the Niners staying undefeated. I got them win 31-28. I think Seattle's defense, I guess I shouldn't be too confident, but I think going down to San Fran, big divisional game, I think the secondary is really going to show up, play well. And the Niners only give up 139 passing yards a game, and they're 8-0 too. So teams have to kind of throw the football because they're behind the 49ers. So teams are throwing the football too against them, and they're only allowed 139 passing yards. So this is going to be a really fun test to see how Russell Wilson does against this great secondary.
Sherman's going to have that extra juice to go.
Yeah,
his feelings against Russell's been written about a lot.
Yeah, so that too. So for a lot of proving that one, Nick Bosa has been great. I think he could get some pressure on Wilson, but I think at home the Niners will be able to pull this one out 31-28.
I think right now I'm going to go with an upset. I think Seattle's going to win this. I think they're going to win it by 3 for the sole fact. If Russell has a big game and Seattle wins this, you can almost just hand the guy the MVP because they're gonna be looking at the obviously last undefeated team. Team right now is playing ridiculously good on both sides of the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo finally I think had one of his first big games last week against the Cardinals. Their run game's obviously been there, done that this whole year. Like you said, the pass rush is just next level. 4 to 5 first round picks on that D line. I mean, Bosa is looking insane. I think Bosa right now could be in a running for defensive play of the year, not even defensive rookie of the year. I think you can just pretty much give that to him, barring some terrible injury. But you could put him right up there with for defensive player of the year. So you got a possible defensive player of the year, possible MVP candidate. And right now, I like what Seattle's been, with what they've been doing on offense. DK Metcalf actually looks a lot better than what I thought he would be looking like his rookie year. And don't forget, they picked up Josh Gordon. What is he going to be doing this week? Because I think he's definitely going to be playing. How much is he going to play? Is he going to have a limited amount of plays, or is he going to play pretty different? Because if you can have him, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf, along with the running game that Russell Wilson can provide, and also Chris Carson can provide, I think it's going to be a pretty good offensive game for Seattle, and I think they're going to be able to. I think how the Patriots defense looked against the Ravens, I think this could be that game for the Niners and Seattle. And I do think Seattle is going to ultimately pull out the win. It's going to be, like Steve said, I think this could easily be the game of the year, and I think that Seattle will win the game by 3 points.
Alrighty, so we're going to shift to college football, and the first playoff rankings came out last night, and they started out like this. Ohio State, controversially, but they were not ranked number 1. LSU, who's playing Alabama this week, is number 2. Alabama's number 3. Here's a weird one: Penn State because of their two top 25 wins against Michigan and Iowa, is number 4. Clemson at number 5. Georgia at number 6, Oregon number 7, Utah number 8, and the only other two that matter, I feel like, that are still in this race is Baylor undefeated at number 12, and then one that Justin didn't like, Minnesota at number 17. My opinion here is, I would have done LSU 1, Ohio State 2, Alabama 3, and Clemson 4. I would not have put Penn State ahead of Clemson. Yes, Penn State has, and I'm a Penn State fan. Penn State has 2 wins against top 25 teams, but if looking at the eye tests, I know Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a great year, but I'm taking a team quarterback by Trevor Lawrence over a team quarterback by Sean Clifford. And I know Jace Garcia the other day says he does his podcast, his hard hitting college football podcast, which definitely listen to. It's a great podcast. But I mean, he had Penn State ahead of Clemson. He was right with what the committee was going to do. I'm a Penn State fan though. I still think with the eye test, I would take Clemson over Penn State because Clemson's been there, done it before, won two of the last 3 national championships, and I'm taking a team quarterback by Trevor Lawrence over a team quarterback by Sean Clifford. So I would definitely take Clemson over Penn State, but the rest of them I pretty much agree with. Georgia being 6, Oregon 7, Utah 8. Minnesota might be a little low for being undefeated, but they really haven't played anyone, but they've been convincing in their wins. And Baylor at 12, I think is I think Baylor being 12, seeing who they played too, I think is accurate as well. Justin, we want to hear your reaction. We'll have a show talking about this, but what's your reaction to this?
My reaction is, I do agree with, because the committee says they want the best 4 teams. The best 4 teams the best team right now on the field, no questions asked, has been Ohio State. They have blown out everybody. They blew out a good Wisconsin team. LSU's been good. They beat in 2 top, at the moment, there are 3 teams they played in top 10. They won all 3. Alabama's played well. Their defense has been kind of the question mark. I think they deserve the 3. Penn State, because they've won 2 top 25 games. I think they do, and I felt like Clemson should get the 5. I didn't know if the committee was going to do that. I'm fine with seeing Clemson 5.
They were going to have the courage to do that, them coming off undefeated and obviously won a national title last year.
Yeah, so I didn't know if the committee would actually do it, but they did, because their best win right now is Texas A&M, who could have 4 losses at the end of the year. That could be their best win all year. And then Georgia, yes, I agree with at 6. Oregon right there at 7. The thing is with those Oregon and Georgia, I'll just say this quickly, is Oregon does have a better loss than Georgia because of the neutral site in Auburn. I know they blew it, but Georgia loses at home South Carolina team that's average. Not a good loss there. And then I'll say about Minnesota. I know we'll talk about the Penn State Minnesota preview in a minute, but PJ Fleck has a really good ball club in there.
Have you seen them live a couple times?
Oh yeah, I watched them.
I don't think I've watched a game of Minnesota football, but you've seen them all. Have you seen all 8 of their games or most of them?
I've seen most of them. I've not seen a couple.
And you like what you see?
I like what I see. I think PJ Fleck, whatever the guy said, it works. And I think they should be a little bit higher up. Baylor's going to be interesting. They have Oklahoma, Texas coming up in a couple weeks back-to-back on the 16th and 23rd, back-to-back, both at home. So we're going to find out a lot about Baylor in the weeks to come. But, I like how the committee did it. It'll play itself out, but I'm fine pretty much with the top 6. I don't have an issue with it.
I think Ohio State has to be number 1. I think you lost Urban Meyer as your head coach. I think people thought they were going to be a good team, but they might take kind of a step back for a year and have them, regroup under their new head coach. So I'm fine with them because they've been, I think, next level. I would put Alabama over LSU.
I wouldn't right now because here's the reason why I wouldn't put Alabama over LSU. LSU has 3 really good wins, 2 top 25 wins, beating they beat Auburn,
Oregon. Not Oregon.
They beat Auburn and Florida, and then they went to Texas and won. So they have 3 really good wins. Alabama really doesn't have a great win this year at all. So that's why I would still put LSU ahead of them.
Yeah, that's why I know. That's why that's why LSU is. I think personally they're just a better team. I mean, Burrows is playing outstanding. I mean, they finally have a quarterback at LSU. It's about time. I just think Bama with Tua and those receivers, that is next level. I don't think we've seen a team that has that amazing quarterback and 3, if not 4, ridiculous wide receivers at Bama. And I think right now I'm fine with Penn State being 4 because, like you said, Clemson coming off of a national title where they dominated Bama. Trevor Lawrence looked like he was the next great quarterback that would, shoe in for #1 pick once he goes to the NFL draft. They've been pretty underwhelming this year. It's been struggling. So if we're going off of just how teams have played, I don't think Clemson right now deserves it. I mean, they haven't been all that impressive. I mean, with their schedule, I expect Trevor Lawrence to be, putting up yards for days, smoking people all game.
I've heard,
and it's just,
I've heard close to the team and all the ties that Trevor Lawrence sounds like he's already disinterested and he's already to play in the NFL.
It's kind of like mentally kind of checked out.
Yeah, he's kind of checked out of Clemson, and he's still got another year left after. So,
yeah, I wonder with a lot of these, like the one loss teams. I think Oklahoma's a pretty good team. I think Georgia is. I'm thinking out of all of the one loss teams, I'm talking about from 9 through 6 with Georgia, Oregon, Utah, Oklahoma. I think I don't think right now Oregon. I think Oregon's a better team than Georgia. I would kind of say Oklahoma to me. I think it's better because Georgia just seems like very underwhelming. I could really like Jake Fromm coming into here. I liked his mental makeup, especially seeing that it's like a Netflix show talking about top quarterbacks from high school. I really kind of liked how he was in that show, and then just seeing that it seems like something's just not clicking, whatever it may be. And I just really love how Jalen Hurts looks like an actual viable quarterback. I mean, that just shows what this Oklahoma offense can do. But it's going to be interesting because obviously LSU, Alabama playing. Someone's going to lose. It's the team that loses. Are they going to drop out of the top 4 and, Clemson's going to replace them?
I think eventually Clemson is going to end up making the playoffs and they go undefeated because the LSU Auburn winner is probably going to be out. I mean, the LSU Alabama loser could potentially be out, or the Penn State Ohio State loser could potentially be out. Yeah. So that's why I think that Clemson, even though they're number 5, they're probably going to get in anyways.
Yeah, I was going to say this when we do the quick show, but it's going to play itself out for Clemson because, what you said, Steve, LSU, Alabama is playing each other this week. Ohio State, Penn State's playing a couple weeks. Clemson runs the table. They're going to knock each other out, and then Ohio State or Penn State, whoever gets that Big Ten championship, they could go down. So for Clemson, it kind of plays a way out. And I think for Clemson, this is the best thing for them because now Dabo's like, hey, we're the underdog. Now he's like, hey, they don't respect us. And Saturday night, I think they're on the road in NC State. Yeah, on the road in NC State. And NC State's not a good team. That late 7:30 ABC game in primetime, Clemson gonna probably beat them by 45.
Yeah, they're gonna want to put on for show off now why they're Clemson.
Yeah,
I just wonder with LSU playing Bama. You said Penn State and Ohio State's playing in a couple weeks. Yeah, in a couple weeks. I would just wonder if those are close games, which I feel like they're probably gonna be close games. If you have a couple let's say it's the same top 5 teams being Clemson, Penn State, Bama, LSU, Ohio State, and no one really has a terrible loss. I just wonder, come the final thing, how is it going to play out? And what are they going to do? That's what I just love about college football is that fact of you always have it feels like a very good 4 to 6 teams, which makes it very tough, which allows for people to do shows like ours that allow it to talk, and it gives us good time, and gives us good drama because it's essentially, I'll say they're kids in college that I feel like stuff like this, if it's like pros don't really care about stuff like this. They don't really care about the college players care about this because it's going to have, they're going to be able to show off, and it helps their resume come time for the NFL. But it's going to be an amazing, second half of this college football season. We're going to see some good games with top teams facing each other, which that's all you ask for in college football. I'm tired of seeing Clemson versus NC State. Ew, I'm good with that.
Absolutely, and we'll get to the games this week. And we got a top 25 matchup in the Big Ten of 2 undefeated teams as Penn State travels to Minnesota to face Minnesota. And this should be a really interesting game. Penn State's defense has been outstanding this year. It all started against Pitt with that goal line stand to win that game. They allowed 12 points against Iowa. They were really good against that goal line stand against Michigan too. This defense has been one of the top defenses in the country this year, and they are the reason why they're 8-0. The quarterback's been decent, but the reason they've been 8-0 is because of how well that defense has played. And I think that continues this week. And I think Penn State wins another really close, low-scoring game this week. I'm going 20-13, Penn State over Minnesota to go to 9-0. And that will probably set that matchup up on November 23rd. Undefeated Penn State, undefeated Ohio State.
Yeah, I so want to pull the trigger on PJ Fleck and the go over, but every time I do pull a team like that, they always disappoint me. But whatever PJ Fleck says to the team, I know the row the boat slogan. He's rowed the boat from Kalamazoo, Michigan, Western Michigan to Minnesota, and I don't know if you guys remember that Cotton Bowl game when they played Wisconsin. They played Wisconsin really tough. So whatever he says. Whatever his motivational speech is, it works. And I know, Steve, you said you have not watched any Minnesota football. Tanner Morgan, the quarterback, I really like him. He's taken a lot of steps forward. I think he had 18 touchdowns this year, 4 interceptions. They run the ball. Rodney Smith averaging about 6 yards a carry. Penn State, though, is the best rush defense in the country. They're not even allowing 2 yards per game or 2 yards allowed a play on a rush. So it's 1.9 they're allowing a rushing play this year. It's been good. So I think it's good, but their defense is elite. They've pulled off a couple of close games. It was a slow start. They only beat South Dakota State by a touchdown. Only beat Fresno by 3 in double OT. Only beat Georgia Southern by 3. They had a game-winning touchdown drive. That one I remember watching the end of that game. Only beat Purdue by a touchdown on the road. But then since then, 40-17 Illinois, 34-7 against Nebraska. Rutgers 42-7, worst team in the Big Ten. Maryland, they just beat 2 weeks ago, 52-10. I think this team is for real. I think they need a couple more pieces. But the thing is, this Minnesota team, I feel like PJ Fleck now is like, hey, they think we're 17th. They don't respect us. I think you're going to see a heck of a showing by Minnesota. I just think I don't think they have enough pieces to run with Penn State in this game. I think Penn State does survive 24-17. But I'd be very nervous, Penn State fan. I think Penn State will pull it out. Minnesota's got their toughest test coming up, so you could probably don't be surprised to see these guys in the Big Ten West in the championship game. But I really like what PJ Fleck's doing. I just think Penn State's a little bit better than Minnesota, and I think they'll survive. But Penn State better be careful. They better be ready to play.
Yeah, I have the same score as you. I think Penn State will win this by 7. I think they'll just show why they're Penn State and why Minnesota. There's levels to this. Penn State's up here. Minnesota right now is a very good team. They're just not on the level of Penn State yet, and it's going to show. I feel like especially late in the game, situational game when the pressure's turned up, Penn State's going to show out. Minnesota's just going to shrink because they haven't been there, done that yet. And Penn State has. I mean, that rush defense from Penn State giving up 68 yards per game going up against Minnesota offense, which is rushing wise is getting 204 yards per game. So I feel like you have strength for Minnesota on offense being rushing. There's a strength Penn State on defense, which is their rush defense. We're going to see which one gives, and I feel like the Penn State's rush defense is going to be able to overcome Minnesota, and they will win a close game. But, and this is what I'm saying. Close games, good games in college football playoff, or not playoffs, but college football period are always amazing because with it being college kids and not pros, their mentality is different than the pros. So when it comes different, you could see anything happen. Some kids, and even though they're in big time college football programs, might not be ready for prime time. It was going to happen in Penn State, possibly, but I don't think it's going to. I think Penn State will win a close, great game by 7 points.
We have a Big 12 matchup in Fort Worth this week as Baylor takes on TCU. And I think this is a trap game for Baylor, but I think they win it and win it by a couple scores. I got Baylor 31-17 over TCU. I
was going to go, I think it definitely is. TCU, their top 3 quarterbacks are all questionable this week. So it's their scout team quarterback's a backup right now. So they could be in a bit of trouble, and I think that's why Baylor's going to be able to win this game. I think it's going to be 27-14. Baylor, Charlie Brewer's a guy nobody really talks about, having a really solid year. They didn't look great offensively, but their defense, Baylor's defense has been really good this year. Matt Rule's done a great job with this program after Art Briles, he had them going, and then all the sanctions happened and all that, and They won one game 2 years ago, and now they're right there contending for the Big 12. I didn't think they would be this good this year, but I thought TCU and Iowa State were my team to kind of be surprised in the Big 12. It's been Baylor. They've played really well, and I think they'll be able to pull it off on the road. I'm a little worried. I'd be a little bit more worried. I think TCU's defense will be able to keep them in it. Offensively for TCU, they're just missing 3 quarterbacks, and I think that's why that Baylor will be able to pull it off on the road.
So are you saying TCU's missing their top 2 quarterbacks?
Top 3. One left the team 2 weeks ago. 2 are injured. Then it's a true freshman I don't think he's played, and then it's a scout team's quarterback.
So I don't understand. If that's happening, why is the line 2?
I don't know.
Like that, like I'm looking at that and it's just like that, like I'm trying to compute and it's not making sense in my eyes.
I heard that most of them were questionable, so but I heard it's most likely they're not going to play, but maybe they are shooting for them to play. I don't. That is low.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, but like she said, if this is a trap, like a possibility of a trap game, I think for Baylor right now, TCU could be it because they're looking at, okay, well, we're 8-0, we're ranked 12th right now. We're going up against TCU that's 4-4. This could be a thing where you better not fall behind early, because I think if that happens, TCU is going to have, their crowd's going to have all the juice and they're going to be energized and ready to go. And you don't want to play, catch up behind the scene, because coming off a team that you said was a 1 win last year, right? For Baylor?
2 years ago, they had 1 win.
Yeah, so 2 years ago. So you have Baylor who's, come back from all, the sanctions, from all that, terrible stuff that was happening. There are Bryles. If you want to show you're coming back, for Baylor football, you need to dominate this game. I don't think they're going to dominate, but I think they will win. I'll say a 10-point victory for Baylor.
We got the big game we're going to spend some time on. You got the game that everybody's been waiting for this year. And for the 1 year, they didn't put this game in prime time. Yeah. It's crazy. The 1 year LSU decides to be a great team and has a great quarterback play, they decide not to put the game in prime time. It's crazy. But it'll be a 3:30.
Whoever did that is dumb.
CBS.
Yeah,
CBS,
they want to put that Notre Dame, 2 overrated teams. They want to put the Notre Dame Georgia game in prime time. And I will guarantee you that game will not match the entertainment that this game will match. I think that this is going to be a great game. I think this is actually the funny thing about this year's LSU's defense isn't as good as it's still really good, but it hasn't been as good as it's been in the past. But Joe Burrow has been outstanding. These are 2 guys who are going to be taken in the first round of the draft, two top quarterback prospects going at it. And I think it's going to be a great game, really high scoring, back and forth. But eventually at the end, I think at home, I'm going to take the better coach and the better quarterback by a little bit, even though I think he might not be 100%, but the better quarterback by a little. And I'm going to go with Alabama, and I got him beating LSU 35-31. And Alabama will stay. And LSU probably stays in the top 4 if they lose. But I think Alabama wins this game 35-31.
Yeah, I think Alabama's opposed one out 38-31. Tua is expected to play. Now, I am not expecting Nick Saban to go up here in a press conference the next 3 days and say, yeah, Tua's playing. I don't think he will announce that till...
Yeah, he'll probably be like mad, be like, oh, is Tua going to play? He's like, why do you keep asking me that question?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to hear from Saban if Tua's going to play or not. I think we'll find that out. Warm-ups out there in the field Saturday. But Alabama's won 31 straight SEC home games. And for the first time probably in a while, Alabama fans walking to Bryant-Denny Stadium probably going... Man, we made we're gonna actually have a close game. Not being so confident. And Joe Brady's come in and been the offensive coordinator. He worked with Sean Payton and Drew Brees and all them, so he's been under a good firm, coaching tree kind of. So, and that's so he's kind of learned from Payton, one of the best right now in the NFL. It's been. This new offense has really, really worked for LSU. They've only scored, I think it is 49-ish points in 2011 to Alabama. 49 points total in 8 years, including in that national championship game. 3 shutouts. And Nick Saban has had their number. And I think that if Nick Saban, they win this game, and I think they win by like 2 or 3 scores, I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think LSU will ever beat Alabama until Nick Saban retires. I think LSU will be able to pull up points. Alabama defense, they're missing like that true, like Alabama's always got that top linebacker. That was supposed to be Dylan Moses this year. Out with the torn ACL, like that Reuben Foster. Oh my God, I'm blinking. But you know what I mean.
Like Dante Hightower.
Hightower.
Where they always have like that dominant
linebacker. That
C.J. Mosley.
Mosley, yep. They have that big defensive presence. They don't have that this year. They're 65th in running the ball in the country. That's not Nick Saban like.
His offense ain't Nick Saban like, period.
Yeah, but I think too he's been able to spread it out more because of the wide receivers he has. He's got 3 top All-Americans. You know, even Mac Jones looked pretty impressive. I know it was Arkansas. Mac Jones looked great. LSU's leading sack guy. He only has 3 in the year. LSU's been great at pass rusher, but Michael Devaney Jr. left the team. He's a linebacker too, starting linebacker, due to personal reasons. So I think that could hurt LSU in this game as well, not having your best pass rusher in this game. And then going back to LSU's offense too, they finally have wide receivers. They're actually finally using the wide receiver because they always have some top guys. They had Jarvis Landry at the same time with Odell.
Somehow.
Yeah, they've always had top guys. They haven't been able to use them. They haven't used them well enough. They've always had that decent core. They finally took that step this year to get those top guys, or to get them kind of in. They've used them the right way, and I think it's a big high scoring. I think they're going to be able to score because the way they used to play, running the eye, kind of trying to pound in between attacks. Alabama, it never worked. Nick Saban always had a plan to shut that down. Now, with LSU running the spread and all that, I think they'll be able to keep it close. You know, I don't think even if Mac Jones plays, I don't think LSU's able to beat them. I picked LSU hopefully to beat them the last couple of years because I kind of want this rivalry to be what it was, you know, when they had the game of the century in 2011, 9-6. I'm not, you know, that will definitely, I don't think we're going to see another 9-6 ball game in this one. 2 great offenses.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, but I think Alabama does get it done at home, but both these teams too, just to cap it off, Alabama's averaging 48.6 points per game, LSU 46.8 points per game. So it could be a shootout. I think both these events be tested, and you know these 2 teams are turning like Big 12 with the defense. Usually LSU and Alabama have dominating defense. It hasn't really been that case. So, but I think Alabama does pull it out at home.
Yeah, I mean, think about, like you said, with the game of the century that they played, wasn't that 2011? I mean, 9-6, and now it'd be a miracle if this is 9-6 after 2 possessions for each team. I mean, just look at the receivers that Alabama has. I mean, you have Jalen Waddle, who I feel like can be a solid 2, very good 3. He's behind Henry Ruggs, which might be one of the faster receivers in the league, period. I mean, it just seems like every first possession for Alabama is just 75-yard touchdown to Henry Ruggs. I mean, you have Jared Jeudy, who's gonna be probably a top 5 pick in the league. If you're a team like, let's say, like the Jets, draft this man, do it now, and we'll call it a day. Then you also, their other receiver, Devonta Smith. I mean, he's leading the team in receiving yards. He has 9 receiving touchdowns. Jared Jeudy was 682, 8 touchdowns. Henry Ruggs, 513 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then Waddle giving you a hair under 300 and a touchdown. And like even their running back Harris, he's getting in the game with 171 yards receiving on 16 catches and 4 touchdowns. So the passing game has just opened up insane. And Tua is, there's something to it where he's so accurate down. It's like not only is he accurate short, he's accurate mid, he's so accurate deep in the ball. It seems like it's almost no effort putting into the deep throws, and you have weapons for days. You can pound the ball if necessary, although I feel like their offensive philosophy shifted a little bit this year because you have next level wide receivers, a next level quarterback. But with LSU, like you said, you have Burrows. You finally have a wide open offense, and because LSU's game plan just seemed like you're asking to lose in previous years. Like you said, running essentially I-form the whole game.
It was like the Wisconsin, the Stanfords.
Yeah, just running I-form the home game, going against half the team was probably an NFL defense. How do you think that's gonna work? You have grown men going up against people that aren't on their level. How do you think that's going to work? So finally, for the love of God, they finally changed their philosophy on offense, and it's worked. I mean, Burrows this year, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, I'm mistaken, 2,805 yards passing. Tua's right now 2,166 yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Obviously, he's been dealing with his injuries. I mean, it's just going to be offensive. Like you said, Nick Saban, I swear to God, he refuses to lose to LSU. He will do anything to not lose to LSU, especially in Tuscaloosa. Good luck, LSU. But it's going to be at a very good game. It's high offensive game, and it's going to be fun to watch. Should be prime time.
I know, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
So we got another top 25 matchup in the Big Ten. We'll quickly go through these last couple of games. We got another top 25 matchup in the Big Ten as Iowa heads to Wisconsin. And this game could determine who wins the Big Ten West. But I think that Wisconsin is going to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think Iowa covers, but I got Wisconsin winning 24-17. I think the run game will be the difference over Iowa.
Yeah, I think I got 21-13. Wisconsin at home in Madison. Both quarterback, Nate Stanley, every time I talk positive about him, I think he's going to play well. He just lets me down, so I'm not going to be too positive, but he needs to play better. They're 81st in total offense this year. It hasn't been great. They're going to, Nate Stanley's got to show up and play well. Hold on the ball, do not turn it over. But I just think Jonathan Taylor, an old Wisconsin running back, I think is going to do enough on the ground. Jack Cohen to be able to control the ball. Hopefully they don't throw the ball late in the game when they don't need to. And Wisconsin to be able to post one at home.
Yeah, I just think Wisconsin's going to win. I mean, I think you have the best player on the field, easy, and one of the best players in all of football with Taylor. I mean, 1,000 yards rushing already, 15 touchdowns. I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle because you're going up against a team which rush defense is very good, so it's strength on strength. And after a while, you just keep, pounding the ball. You limit the mistakes by the quarterback. If you're Wisconsin, you'll win the game. They'll end up pulling out. I'll say a 10-point victory, Wisconsin.
We have an SEC matchup in Georgia. This should be a blowout. Missouri faces Georgia. I think Missouri wins this game. Georgia wins this game big. They win it by a couple scores and go to 8-1. 8-1 the season. It would be if they win 8-1 the season.
8-1. Missouri, it's been a tale of two stories. At home, they're averaging about 37 points a game. On the road, they're in two SEC road games. They are averaging 10 points a game and they're
scored 7 against Kentucky.
Yeah, against a Kentucky. Yeah, they gave up
not good
29 points to Kentucky team. I don't know, you know this. Lid Bowden Jr., because Kentucky lost their 2 starting quarterbacks, is converted to wide receiver. So they're just running Wildcat the whole time, and they gave up 29 points. So that can tell you about Missouri's defense. It had not been great. DeAndre Swift, Jake Fromm, they're gonna look good. I think Georgia wins big in this one. I think if it was in Columbia, Missouri, I think it'd be a little bit closer because they play better at home much better at home for some reason. Going to Georgia on a Saturday night, not happening.
Yeah, it's going to be a long game for Missouri. I think Georgia is going to win big. They better win big because if you want to keep showing that you're a possible playoff contender, obviously, like we said previously, a lot of the top 4 teams are going to end up playing each other at one point during the season. If you're Georgia and you want to keep showing that you're a playoff contender, you need to win this game and win this game big. You need to, I understand even though the game against South Carolina was 3 weeks ago and you did beat a high-ranked team in Florida, you need to start getting some of those blowout victories that I feel like a lot of the top teams do get during the year. And this is your not going to say one chance, but it's the chance that you have right now with the playoff rankings just coming out. Plant a good seed in their mind, and you need to do it ASAP. They better win by at least 3-4 scores.
We'll wrap up the show talking about Iowa State and Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma wins this game big by a couple scores. Ranked ninth in the college football playoff. I think they continue to roll and they win big. Yeah,
I feel a little bit more calm about Iowa State if it was in Ames because they usually have that one upset a year at Ames. And Oklahoma had the bye last week after coming off that disappointing effort in Kansas State where they just kind of slow start. Iowa State was my sleeper in the Big 12 this year. They're 5-3, still hanging in there. Their defense, there's going to be tested. Jalen Hurts, of course, just had a great year. He's unbelievable.
Almost 600 yards on offense.
Yeah, it's they score. Of course, every year. Lincoln Riley just implements a new offense, new quarterback, and they do great. I think the same thing. I think Oklahoma does. I think Iowa State keeps it close early, but I think Oklahoma ends up taking this one at home, 38-27. I think it's like a one-score going game. I think Iowa State can keep it close. I think they'll be able to move the ball, but Matt Campbell doing a great job with the Cyclones.
If you're Oklahoma, again, I feel like it's kind of the same thing I'll say with Georgia. You need to dominate this game. Get the memory of the last game where they lost out of people's minds. If show them why, who Oklahoma is. Dominating offensive wise, running the ball, passing the ball. I mean, now they're averaging almost 350 yards passing, and it's a hair over 252 rushing. I mean, pick your poison with this team. Like, we want to stop the run, we'll pass. Stop the pass, we'll run. Whether it's with the running backs or actually with Jalen Hurts right now. I mean, someone like CeeDee Lamb, receiving wise, 36 catches, 816 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Right up there, one of the best receivers in all college football. I'll say right there with Jared Jeudy is one of the best ones. And right now, Oklahoma, you need to show, like I said before, why you're Oklahoma. Plant a good seed in the minds of the people voting for the playoff rankings. You need to win big.
It's going to wrap it up this week for Sports Talk with RKJ. For my co-host, Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Kyle Galuli. Be listening at around 11 o'clock as we're going to have 2 more shows today as Justin D'Onofrio. Nobody knows that CSB knows college basketball more than Justin D'Onofrio. We're going to have our college basketball preview today. Also, we're going to have our week. We're going to be doing this every week till the college football playoff. The 4 teams get released in early December. We're going to have our college football ranking reaction show. So be on the lookout for that too today. So for Kyle Galuli and Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking week 11 of the NFL season and week 12 of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everybody.